Hey, plumber man, you missed a spot. Laughter erupted in the lobby of the upscale corporate building as a young man in a designer suit pointed toward a damp patch near the reception desk. Marcus Cole didn't flinch. He was crouched by a leaking pipe, his calloused hands expertly twisting a wrench. His blue jumpsuit was smeared with grease, and beads of sweat glistened on his bald head under the harsh fluorescent lights. Yeah, how about you fix it before we all drown in your failure? Another voice chimed in. Nathan, mid-30s, regional sales manager, with a smug smile and a Rolex that did more talking than he did. Marcus slowly stood up, wiped his hands on a rag, and glanced at them calmly. I'll be done in 5. You won't drown today, promise. They scoffed, but he returned to his task, silent and focused. Behind the desk, the receptionist, a kind-eyed young woman named Lila, winced. Sorry about them. They're just kids with nice shoes, Marcus said, not looking up. That afternoon, as Marcus exited the building, tool bag over his shoulder, he passed by the smoker's corner where Nathan and a few others were laughing, beer cans in hand. Hey, Marcus, Nathan called out mockingly. Tell us, how's it feel fixing toilets for a living? You ever dream bigger? Marcus paused, looked them in the eye, then offered a small smile. I dream better. You boys stay safe. And with that, he walked away, unaware that this simple interaction was about to explode into something much, much bigger. It started 2 days later when the building had a major water line burst. Chaos ensued, electronics fried, conference rooms flooded, clients fled. Marcus was called in immediately. He showed up in 20 minutes flat, while others panicked. He worked like a machine, coordinated with the janitors, rerouted pipes, even climbed into a crawl space filled with scalding steam to manually shut off the main valve. When he finally emerged, soaked and blackened with grime, applause broke out among the staff, but not from Nathan. He stood stiffly by the elevator, arms folded. The CEO herself, Helen Barron, descended from her 16th floor office to thank him. You saved us from a catastrophe. Truly, I've never seen someone work like that. Marcus only nodded. Just doing my job, ma'am. Helen tilted her head, studying him. You look familiar. Were you ever in the service? Nathan, who was standing nearby, smirked. What? The plumbing service? But Helen didn't laugh. Her eyes sharpened. No, military. Army, perhaps. Marcus hesitated, then gave a small nod. Yes, ma'am. Point you Sarmare retired. Rank, she asked. Marcus looked down. Lieutenant Colonel. Silence. Nathan blinked. Wait, what? Helen's eyes widened. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Cole. Task Force Griffin. Marcus met her gaze fully. Yes, ma'am. And that was the moment the world around him shifted. The news traveled like wildfire. Someone Googled it, and within an hour, articles were flying across office chat threads. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Cole, decorated commander of Elite USTASK Force Griffin, rescued POWs in Afghanistan, foiled assassination plot in Syria, led black ops across 5 continents. Photos emerged Marcus in full combat gear, a scar running down his cheek, standing in front of a helicopter with a scowl that could freeze lava. Lila gasped. Why didn't you ever tell anyone? Marcus shrugged. Didn't think it mattered here. Nathan was pale, quiet. That evening, he caught up to Marcus outside the building. Hey, Colonel, sir. Marcus looked at him evenly. I'm not your superior anymore. Marcus is fine, Nathan fumbled. I just wanted to say, sorry, I didn't know. I know you didn't, Marcus said simply. You judged what you saw. The next day, things changed. No more mocking laughter. No more side comments. Some people saluted him jokingly. Others genuinely avoided eye contact out of shame. But Helen Barron had other plans. She called him up to her office, sprawling, all glass and steel, the skyline painting the background. I've got a proposition, she said, hands clasped. You've got leadership, crisis management, tactical brilliance. Why are you wasting it? Marcus sat across from her, expression neutral. I've had my fill of leading. Lost too many good men. I like fixing things now. Pipes don't bleed, she nodded slowly. What if you didn't have to lead soldiers? But people who need real guidance. Young men and women here, lost in egos and deadlines. They need a role model. He tilted his head. You want me to babysit execs? She smiled. Mentor, train, transform. Marcus leaned back. I'll think about it. That night, he walked home to his modest apartment, placed his old uniform on the bed, and stared at the medals tucked away in a dusty box. One in particular caught his eye, Silver Star, awarded after he led a rescue mission under direct enemy fire. He remembered every face from that day. He didn't sleep much. 3 weeks later, the building buzzed as Marcus returned, not in overalls, but in a crisp button-up, slacks, and a nameplate that read Director of Operations and Team Leadership. He was no longer the plumber. He was the man shaping the backbone of the company. His first initiative, a mandatory boot camp-style team-building retreat. The same Nathan who once mocked him now had to complete a 5 a.m. obstacle course under Marcus's command. Move. Nathan, Marcus barked as the sales manager struggled up a muddy incline. I can't. Yes, you can, Marcus shouted. You're stronger than you think. You've just never been tested. When Nathan finally made it up, panting, muddy, exhausted, he burst out laughing. For the first time in years, he felt alive. You're insane, he said to Marcus. Marcus grinned. That's Colonel Insane to you. Laughter erupted. Over the next months, Marcus reshaped the company culture. He taught discipline, accountability, humility. More importantly, he taught people to look beyond appearances. One day, Lila walked into his office, holding a photo frame. This came for you, from an old unit member, I think. Marcus took it slowly. Inside was a photo of his team smiling, gear slung over shoulders, dust in their hair, blood on their boots, pride in their eyes. On the back, you may be a plumber now, but to us, you'll always be the man who led us home. Cruz Marcus blinked hard. He set the photo on his desk. At that moment, Nathan knocked and entered, nervously holding a wrench. I tried to fix the kitchen faucet in the break room. Made it worse. Marcus chuckled. Show me. As they walked together, Nathan asked quietly, Do you miss it? The action. Marcus paused. Every day. Then why'd you leave it behind? He smiled. Because I already gave enough. And now I fix different things. Pipes, people, broken systems. Nathan nodded. Thoughtful. Well, you fixed me. Marcus clapped a hand on his shoulder. That's the real work. And with that, the man once mocked for fixing toilets became the cornerstone of a company's rebirth, not just as a leader, but as a reminder, greatness doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it wears grease-stained overalls and a legacy forged in fire. 3 months later, the company was unrecognizable. The executive team was sharper, humbler. Meetings started on time. Deadlines were met without drama. And for the first time in years, employee satisfaction was climbing. Helen Barron watched it all unfold from her office window, arms crossed, a rare smile on her face. One Thursday afternoon, as the team wrapped up a leadership workshop Marcus had organized, a man in a military uniform walked into the lobby. Tall, muscular, African-American, with a buzz cut and sharp eyes that scanned every corner. Excuse me, he said to Lila at the front desk. I'm looking for Marcus Cole. Right this way, she said, eyes curious. Marcus was in the operations room, overseeing a logistics restructuring. When the door opened and the soldier stepped in, his voice broke the silence like a grenade. Colonel. Marcus turned, and his face lit up with something no one in the office had ever seen from him, pure, vulnerable joy. Jackson. The two men embraced tightly, backs slapping and laughing like brothers reunited from war. The staff watched from outside the glass, stunned. This is Sergeant Major Derek Jackson, Marcus said, turning to the team. My second in command during our last tour in Kandahar. Jackson nodded. The man who dragged me out of a burning Humvee with shrapnel in his leg. Gasps rippled through the room. Nathan stepped forward, eyes wide. You saved his life. Marcus waved a hand dismissively. He'd have done the same for me. Jackson shook his head. He did, twice. They all laughed. But Jackson's expression turned serious. I came because there's something you need to know. Marcus nodded and led him into his office. Once alone, Jackson dropped the smile. Do you remember Lieutenant Reeves? Marcus's face darkened. Yeah, took a sniper round during that hostage extraction. He made it, Jackson said, lost an eye, but he's alive. He's starting a foundation, helping retired vets get back on their feet. He's looking for someone to help run operations. Someone who can lead and build. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You think I should leave here? Jackson shrugged. Not saying that, but you always said you didn't want to lead anymore. And yet, here you are, building an army of white-collar warriors. Marcus exhaled. I didn't plan it, it just happened. Because it's who you are, sir. Marcus rubbed his temples. I've finally found peace here. These people, they judged me at first. Yeah, but they changed. I changed. They don't need a soldier. They need someone who gets his hands dirty. Jackson smiled. You've always been that guy. Outside, Nathan, Lila, and several others were listening without meaning to. Lila finally whispered. He never stopped serving. Just found a different battlefield. A week later, Helen asked Marcus to join her on the rooftop for coffee. You've changed this place, she said, staring out at the skyline, and now I hear someone's trying to steal you. Marcus smirked. Jackson told you, she nodded. He also told me about Syria, about the village of Daruk. Marcus tensed. That's not a story I tell, I understand, she said. But let me ask you this. What makes you feel more alive? Carrying a wounded man through a war zone, or teaching a kid in a suit to finally respect others? Marcus took a long sip of coffee. They're not as different as you'd think. I know, she said. That's why I want you to stay. But I won't stop you if you leave. I just hope you know what you've built here. Marcus looked at her, eyes steady. I do. And that's why I'm staying. Helen smiled. Genuinely. Good. Because I want you to be my next coup. His eyes widened. I'm serious, she said. This company doesn't just need spreadsheets and profits. It needs heart, discipline, perspective. You bring all of that, Marcus chuckled, shaking his head. From clogged toilets to boardroom deals, life's funny. She raised her coffee. To evolution. He raised his cup. To redemption. One rainy evening, Marcus visited a local high school. He'd been invited to speak at Career Day. The auditorium was packed with teenagers in hoodies and sneakers, scrolling on their phones. He walked on stage in his old uniform. The chatter died. I'm Marcus Cole, he said, voice steady. Some of you might think you know what success looks like. I used to think it looked like medals and orders. Later, I thought it was a paycheck. But you know what success really is? Silence. It's making a difference, even when no one sees it. It's doing your best job, whether you're wearing body armor or a plumber's belt. He told them about war, fear, and failure, about restarting life from scratch. He didn't glamorize it, he made it real. When he was done, the entire room stood in applause. Some of the toughest-looking boys were wiping their eyes. Afterwards, a shy kid came up. Sir, I want to be like you. Marcus bent down, looked him in the eye. Then don't be like me. Be better, and never judge anyone by what they wear, even if it's a dirty jumpsuit. That night, Marcus sat alone in his apartment. He pulled out an old photo of his squad in the desert, all smiling. Some gone now, some just ghosts in his mind, he whispered. I hope I'm doing right by you. Then he tucked the photo away and picked up his phone. Jackson. Yeah, tell Reeves I'll help. I'll run his West Coast division. But I'm staying here too. I'm not choosing between past and present. I'm building both. 3 years later, the company was one of the top 10 in the nation. Helen retired, and Marcus became CEO. He still fixed pipes when he felt like it. Old habits die hard. One day, as he was tightening a bolt under the sink in the executive bathroom, a young intern walked in and froze. Sir, you're the CEO. Marcus looked up, grinning. Yep, and this faucet's been leaking since last week, the kid stammered. Shouldn't you call maintenance? Marcus winked. I am maintenance. The intern laughed nervously. This place is weird. Marcus stood, wiped his hands. Weird is good. It means we don't forget where we came from. He walked out, leaving the kids stunned. Outside, Nathan, now head of sales, was leading a new group of recruits on a tour. And that, he said, pointing, is our CEO, former war hero, a former plumber, full-time legend. One of the recruits blinked. Wait, you're serious? Nathan smirked. Dead serious. You mock a man with dirty hands. You might be mocking the same hands that saved lives. They all stared after Marcus, who was casually walking down the hall, tool bag in one hand, coffee in the other. Nathan muttered, almost to himself, there goes the strongest man I've ever met. And somewhere, far from the battlefield, the mission still lived on, through pipes, papers, people, and a man who never stopped serving. The following quarter, Marcus's leadership drew national attention. Forbes ran a feature titled, From Combat to CEO, How a Plumber Turned Commander Rewired Corporate Culture. The article exploded on LinkedIn. The phone in Marcus's office wouldn't stop ringing for days, but with recognition came scrutiny. At a board meeting, a new investor named Benjamin Voss spoke up. Young, ambitious, Harvard-educated, and reeking of entitlement. Voss leaned back in his chair with folded arms and a smug smile. I respect military service, he began, eyes locked on Marcus. But are we seriously saying a man who fixed toilets and led soldiers is qualified to run billion-dollar negotiations? No offense, but this company is about data, not dog tags. Silence fell over the room. Marcus stayed calm. You done? Voss smirked. I'm just asking the question everyone's too polite to say. Helen, now on the board, in an advisory role, cleared her throat. Benjamin, when this company was underwater, literally and figuratively, it was that man who kept it from drowning. He didn't need an MBA. He needed guts. And he's still the only one who walks the floor and knows every employee by name. Voss shrugged. Culture is cute. I'm talking expansion. Marcus stood. Slowly. You want data. Benjamin, I'll give it to you. Since I took over, employee turnover dropped by 42%. Productivity's up 26. Revenue's up 50. You know why? Because I treat janitors like people and train execs like soldiers. I lead from the trenches. You want someone who hides behind a spreadsheet. Look elsewhere. A long pause. Voss opened his mouth, then closed it. Another board member muttered, damn. Weeks passed, and Marcus kept pushing forward. But the stress was mounting. Between running the company and helping run the Veteran Foundation with Reeves and Jackson, he barely slept. One night, Lila knocked on his office door. She'd moved up fast, now head of HR. Thanks in no small part to Marcus's mentoring. You've got to slow down, she said, setting a plate of food on his desk. You've lost weight. He smiled wearily. I'm fine. You're not, she said, voice soft. And it's okay to say that. Marcus looked at her, really looked. You know, in combat, there's a thing called moral injury. It's not just about bullets. It's about losing part of your soul, watching people die and wondering why you lived. Lila sat down quietly. Sometimes I feel like I'm making up for something. Like I owe the world more than I can give. You don't, she whispered. You've given more than anyone. Let people give back to you now. He nodded, eyes wet. That's the hardest part. Things came to a head during a major acquisition negotiation. A rival firm, Arcturus Solutions, was trying to buy up several of Marcus's subcontractors. It was a power play. They invited Marcus to a summit in Chicago. The CEO of Arcturus, Gregory Lang, a smug billionaire with a killer instinct, opened the first meeting with a handshake and a shot. Mr. Cole, you clean up well. Never would have guessed you once scrubbed pipes. Marcus grinned. I still do. Keeps the mind sharp. Lang smirked. Well, here's the thing. Your company's cute, but it's outgrowing your skill set. We've got AI, global reach. Why don't you step aside and let the big boys take it from here? Marcus leaned forward, voice low. You see soldiers and plumbers as small men, but we're the ones who build what you sit on. Don't mistake humility for weakness. Lang chuckled. We'll see who's still standing in a year. What followed was war not with bullets, but with contracts and politics. Arcturus tried to outbid Marcus on every front. They undercut prices, poached suppliers, spread rumors to investors. Marcus fought back with grit. He personally visited every partner. He called every supplier. He reminded them what loyalty looked like. He brought Nathan, Leela, and a dozen others into strategy sessions that stretched until midnight. He drilled them like a field team. This isn't business, he told them. It's a campaign. We win this by being faster, leaner, and more honest. They did. 6 months later, Arcturus collapsed under its own arrogance. Gregory Lang was investigated for financial fraud. Marcus bought out 2 of their divisions for pennies. When the news broke, reporters flooded the building. How did a former plumber outmaneuver a Wall Street tycoon? Marcus smiled. By never underestimating the little guy. One evening, Marcus sat at a park bench alone, watching the sun sink behind a line of trees. He didn't wear a suit or a name tag, just jeans and a jacket. A teenage boy sat nearby, fiddling with a cracked phone. "Hey," Marcus said. "You okay?" The boy shrugged. "Whatever. Got kicked out of school again. They think I'm just a troublemaker." Marcus nodded. "I used to think that too. Got into fights. Didn't think I'd live past 20. The boy looked at him sideways. "Yeah, what changed?" "Someone gave me a second chance. Taught me to fight for something bigger than my anger." The kid hesitated. "What do you do now?" Marcus smiled faintly. "I lead a company. Help vets. Fix pipes sometimes." The boy blinked. Seriously. And I'm telling you, you're not stuck. No one's stuck. They just don't know how to move yet." The kid looked down. "My name's Jaden." Marcus extended a hand. "Marcus." They shook, and something shifted. Later that year, Marcus started a scholarship program for underprivileged teens named after his fallen squad members. Jaden was the first recipient. The story made headlines, but Marcus never chased headlines. He chased impact. When an employee's house burned down, he helped rebuild it. When a janitor's wife needed surgery, he paid the bill anonymously. When no one was watching, he was still the same man in the mud, dragging others to safety. And so it continued. One evening, as he stood in the hallway fixing a crooked painting, a young woman tapped him on the shoulder. "Excuse me, are you Marcus Cole?" He turned. "Depends who's asking. My name's Captain Talia Singh, USARMY. My father served with you in Iraq. He said you saved his life when a grenade hit the convoy." Marcus blinked. "Captain Raj Singh, I remember. He was one hell of a soldier." She smiled. "He died last year. Cancer. But he talked about you constantly. Said you were the best leader he ever had." Marcus lowered his head. "I'm sorry. He left something for you." She handed him a small, weathered box. Inside was a medal Marcus had pinned on Raj Singh years ago. A note inside read, "For the one who carried us all." Marcus swallowed hard. For once, he couldn't speak. And somewhere in the heart of that skyscraper, under steel beams and polished floors, lived a legacy not built in marble, but in sweat, scars, and second chances. Because behind the CEO badge, behind the battle ribbons, behind the rust-stained wrench, Marcus Cole was never just a plumber. He was a commander. And the world, finally, saw it. 6 months passed. The company was thriving. Marcus was traveling more often, sometimes for business, sometimes for veteran support events. But no matter where he went, he never stayed in luxury hotels or flew first class. He preferred sitting with mechanics in lunchrooms, shaking hands with school janitors, hugging single moms at housing centers. His humility became legendary, but not everyone liked that. One Friday afternoon, as he returned to the main office after a school speaking event, he found his assistant trembling at her desk. "Marcus, there's someone here to see you." He turned, and there she was, Senator Elaine Dorner, silver-haired, sharp-suited, and known for her ice-cold demeanor. She'd recently launched a campaign targeting corporate overreach, and today she had chosen Marcus Cole's company as her target. I assume you know why I'm here, she said without a greeting. Marcus nodded, voice calm. You want a show? Cameras. Headlines. I want transparency, she snapped. You run $1 billion company, and yet your HR files are sealed tighter than a Pentagon vault. You've hired dozens of veterans with PTSD. No psychological screenings, no background checks disclosed. It's irresponsible. Marcus's jaw tightened. You're mistaking compassion for chaos. She smiled icily. You're playing a dangerous game, Mr. Cole. He stepped forward. No, Senator. I played a dangerous game when I crawled through minefields to save civilians you forgot existed. This, he gestured around the office. This is the healing part. A hush fell over the room. I'm not ashamed of hiring broken men, Marcus continued. I was one, but I don't break them more with red tape. I give them purpose. Dorner narrowed her eyes. You think you're above the system. I think the system was never made for people like us. So we're building a new one. That night, the confrontation went viral. Videos, articles, commentary. Half the country praised him. The other half accused him of reckless idealism. Marcus didn't respond. He kept working. But then came the whistleblower, a former disgruntled employee, fired for embezzlement, accused Marcus of hiding military documents and using company funds for personal redemption missions. The media latched onto the phrase like sharks. Is Marcus Cole running a business or a cult of personality? From war hero to CEO to rogue, he was called to testify before a congressional ethics committee. Helen called him the night before the hearing. You don't have to go alone. We can send lawyers. Marcus shook his head. No, I'll face it, like every other battlefield. The chamber was packed. Cameras, odd reporters, SS senators. Seated in judgment, Dorner was at the center. Her voice clipped and crisp. Mr. Cole, are you aware that your company has diverted over $2 million in the past year to nonprofit and veteran support activities without board pre-approval? Yes, Marcus said plainly. Why? Because those activities saved lives. You don't get to decide where corporate funds go, she snapped. I didn't decide, Marcus said. I led, like I've always done, and the board didn't object because they saw results. She leaned forward. Did you falsify any documents? No. Did you use this company as a vehicle for your personal guilt? Marcus paused. Yes, he said finally. I used it to fix what the war broke. In me, in others, but it was never for me alone. Every dollar spent on a veteran saved us triple in loyalty, performance, and integrity. Dorner sat back. That's not how business works. That's how humanity works, he replied. The room was silent. Then a woman in the gallery stood. My son is alive today because Mr. Cole gave him a job after Iraq, she said, voice shaking. He was going to end it all. But now he's mentoring teens. Another man rose. He paid for my wife's cancer surgery. Never told a soul. One by one, people stood. Mothers, fathers, dads, vets, janitors, young interns, broken and rebuilt lives. The committee couldn't ignore it. The ethics probe was dismissed in 30 minutes. Marcus walked out of the chamber not just a CEO, but a symbol. A month later, he visited Arlington. Just him and the wind. He knelt before 5 headstones, all in a row. I kept my promise, he whispered. I didn't let the war be the end of me. I used it for something better. He stood slowly. I hope I made you proud. Back at the office, Lila waited with news. Remember Jaden? Marcus smiled. Of course. He's graduating early. Top of his class. Full ride scholarship. Wants to study mechanical engineering. Marcus nodded, misty-eyed. That kid's going to change the world. Nathan entered, holding a letter. And this might change yours. The president's office. They want to award you the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Marcus chuckled. I'm just a plumber. Nathan shook his head. No, you're the man who showed us what leadership really means. The ceremony was held in Washington. DCC cameras, flags, formal suits. As Marcus stepped on stage, wearing a simple dark blazer and holding nothing but his father's dog tags in his pocket, the president clasped his hand. For service not just to his country, but to its soul, he said, pinning the medal on Marcus's chest. Thunderous applause. But Marcus's speech was simple. I don't deserve this alone. I accept it for every soldier who never came home, for every worker who's judged by their clothes, for every broken man who rebuilt himself quietly. He looked up. And for the ones who never stopped believing in second chances. That night, Marcus returned home, alone, but not lonely. He opened the small box from Singh's daughter. Inside, beneath the medal, was a note he'd never read before. You once told me a real leader doesn't need a spotlight, but sometimes he needs to step into one just long enough to show others the way. Marcus folded the note, sat back, closed his eyes. He didn't need to fight anymore. He'd already won, not just a war, but the battle to be seen, to be understood, to matter. And in that still apartment, surrounded by memories and hope and tools worn smooth by service, Marcus Cole, once a soldier, once a plumber, now a symbol, finally rested.